startups ecosystem harnessing the power of innovation, resilience for exponential growth. So before we start, I request all the students to be kindly seated. Over here, students, if you can be seated. I request the faculty members to kindly move on the allocated arena. All right. So let us welcome the panelists for panel discussion 3 with us. First of all, Mr. Varun Dhingra, CEO, Renas Consulting. Mr. Varun Dhingra is a seasoned professional with over 20 years of corporate experience. He's an ex-investment banker and currently serves as the CEO of Renas Consulting, an executive search firm specializing in finance and strategy roles. Under his leadership, the firm has established a reputation of trust among over 50 financial institutions and the corporates. He has won several awards, including 40 under 40 investment professionals in India, Startup Catalyst of the Year, and an Industry Excellence Award. A huge round of applause, please. Welcome. We have with us today Mr. Pushkar Anand, CEO, Brilliant Capital, extensive experience in conducting private equity and merger and acquisition due diligence, includes assessing target management, building revenue model, evaluating the competition, and assessing operational and overall improvement opportunities. He has experienced the startup culture for most of his career, and he has also spent time with multiple multinationals. He believed in lean startup methodology as well as agile development for product management. A very warm welcome. Huge round of applause, please. We have with us today Mr. Arunabh Sinha, the moderator of the session, founder UClean, founder of Asia's largest laundry chain UClean, and the fastest growing franchisee brand in the history of the country. Arunabh is highly skilled at scaling up businesses that work on a physical model. Apart from running his own startup, he also advises and handholds some other brands on their expansion spree. A very warm welcome. Huge round of applause, please. I welcome Ms. Ekta Kapoor, founder, Amazing Workplaces, co-founder, editor-in-chief, Amazing Workplaces, an integrated HR platform for employer branding. A passionate and extremely curious about the best practices that form foundation of any workplace culture and people management policies. Huge round of applause, please. Mr. Ishu Bansal, CTO, Truck Suvidha. Mr. Bansal, co-founder of Truck Suvidha, a leading technology platform in India that connects truck owners, transporters, and other stakeholders in the logistics industry. An entrepreneur who has made significant contribution to the logistics industry in India. A very warm welcome. I now take the opportunity to invite Mr. Mayank Tiwari, founder Via Trade Private Limited. His company is a demand aggregator, and I had been personally involved with him in a few sessions of his. He's an individual who is an extensively brilliant speaker and has been doing extremely well in his own industry. We are really, really happy to have him with us. A very warm welcome, Mr. Mayank. I request the student to present planters to our delegates. First of all, I request Palak to welcome Mr. Varun Dhingra. Huge round of applause, please. I request Kriti to welcome Mr. Pushkar Anand. I request Sejal to welcome Mr. Arunabh Sinha. I request Kriti to welcome Ms. Ekta Kapoor. I request Ria to welcome Mr. Ishu Bansal. And I request Himanshi to welcome Mr. Mayank Tiwari. Over to the moderator.
Very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arunab, and I'm the founder and CEO of UClean, which is into the laundry and cleaning services. A journey that we started about 6 years back, and today, fortunately, we are the largest laundry and dry cleaning chain in Asia, with a presence across 100 cities between India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. And like Mr. Mahapatra in the previous panel discussion mentioned, that when somebody offers you the role of moderator, take it up straight away. So as soon as uh, Ms. Anandi and Mr. Himanshu approached me asking me to moderate this session, I said I would love to do it gladly, because then the main job that you have is to keep asking questions. So the format that we'll have today is I'll ask you guys questions, and in your first question, maybe you can talk a little about what you guys are building, and then we can move along from there. Uh, so I'm thankful to Ms. Sanandi, who has given me an indicative list of questions that would help us along this discussion. But since, unlike the previous panel discussions, this is more related to startups and entrepreneurship. So I don't mind if you guys, during the course of a discussion, also want to ask a question. So one thing that I have noticed, and I graduated in 2008, and at that time the startup scene and the entrepreneurship scene was not great. I graduated from IIT Bombay, and I was heading this vertical called E-Cell of IIT Bombay, which was entrusted with the responsibility of organizing business events, startup meets like these, entrepreneurship meets. And I'll be very honest, uh, when I became the president, मेरा मेन मोटिव था सीवी, क्योंकि आई वॉज नॉट ग्रेट academically. तो सीवी में आपको चाहिए था, इफ यू आर नॉट फैंटास्टिक इन एकेडमिक्स, देन आपके एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर्स अच्छे होने चाहिए, देन यू विल गेट प्लेस्ड इन अ गुड कंसल्टिंग फर्म. So when I became the president of eSale, I'll be honest, the main intent was not to organize events or to get fantastic startup entrepreneurs to come to the campus and talk about their journey. The major intent was to get a brownie point on my CV. And at that time, even IIT Bombay as an institution was very clear that they are not in favor of entrepreneurship. It's a technology college, it's an engineering college, and they only focused on engineering led activities, tech fest, and similar activities which had nothing to do with entrepreneurship. So when we organized events, business events, the institute made a very clear disclaimer कि ये properly student led activity है, student led organization है, and the institute has nothing to do with it. But cut to today, and today we are sitting at Jaipuria Institute of Management, where the professors themselves, and I have been in very close touch with Professor Himanshu and Professor Sanandi, and I have seen how focused are they on making sure that this event actually is full of learnings. You guys get to learn a lot. You guys get to learn from whatever we can potentially teach you. So that is one huge paradigm shift that I have seen, where during our times, business events or entrepreneurial events were purely organized for the sake of organizing them, versus what we see today. And not only at Jaipur, I've been speaking at a few business events at multiple business schools, and I have seen, and not even business schools, engineering schools, Delhi University, and I have seen that the intent is right. People actually want to talk about entrepreneurship. People want to talk about startups. And this has been the biggest change for me. So along those lines, Varun, if you could talk about what have you seen, and you have been around for over a couple of decades now. So what are the changes you have seen in the startup ecosystem?
Thanks, Arnab. Very good evening to all of you. And uh, probably I am a little less sleepy than you are. I also had a very good lunch over here. Uh, to answer to Arnab's question, but let me share my story. I am an accidental recruiter. I am a chartered accountant as well as a lawyer, and 18 years I did investment banking, did M&A deals, and raised money for startups. I've seen many startups getting failed in front of my eyes. I've seen many startups raising angel rounds, and then they eventually raised Series C rounds as well. What have changed? There are two things which I would like to highlight. One, students, you sitting here, if you go to your home today and you talk to your dad or mom that you want to run a startup now, probably they will accept it as a very normal practice that okay, you want to build something, particularly after Shark Tank, and many parents are also watching Shark Tank. So that is the first change what I've realized, that startup founder is not a taboo designation anymore. So that is the welcome change which has happened in our country, and all thanks to our government which has been promoting the startup ecosystem. And second immediate change which you will see, and of course many of you would have already seen, is now all those cash burning flamboyant startup news, you will actually see getting limited to very few names. Now every investor wants to invest in a company which can actually return the capital to them in a subtle fashion. So that is the second change from the maturity side and from the new age founder side. So those are my two takeaways.
Yeah, so resonating with Varun what just mentioned, and to just add to it, I come from Bihar, and as you all would know that Bihar is a very education obsessed state. So when I was growing up, and I come from a very small village called Dimna, which is now a part of Jharkhand, but when we were growing up, it was part of Bihar, and IIT was like an obsession over there. So everybody wanted IIT was treated as a passport to a better life, and my parents also had this dream that I'll study hard, I'll get into IIT, which happened, and then my mom had a second dream, which is again a dream of a lot of Bihari parents. If there are Biharis in this crowd, they would pretty much sympathize with me. Ki IIT ke baad lal batti wali gaadi. So because again Bihar is obsessed with UPSC, 3 बार 4 बार 5 बार 6 बार देते रहेंगे till they actually make it. So that was my mom's second wish, and when I was growing up, I also thought that wo karna hai, but when I entered into IIT, I started interacting with peers from different states, and that's when I started exploring entrepreneurship. So Uclean is not my first venture, but I have in the past built another company, sold it to Times of India. Uh, it was going pretty much good till then, and then when I came up with the idea of starting Uclean, my parents were scandalized. I was prior to Uclean, I was the CEO of this hotel chain called Tribo Hotels, and I was paid very well. So they were very shocked that why would I give up a job of that stature, job that brought in that kind of income, and very importantly, धोबी बनने के लिए. So their bigger concern was कि ये सब छोड़ के चलो सैलरी छोड़ दी, बट धोबी बनने के लिए ऐसा करोगे. तो I stayed strong. Things happened today. They're very proud, but uh, because we work on franchising model. So what we do is we empower micro entrepreneurs, and then these micro entrepreneurs they work on running their own show assisted by the brand. And even today, when we are selling franchisees, when we are talking to prospects across India, this continues to be a concern that a lot of people don't want to take it up. I still have franchisees who are running successful stores, but they have not disclosed even to their friends and family that they are running a Uclean business because ये धोबी का business है. So this, for me, this continues to be a pretty big challenge. And I would like Ishu to talk about, because he has been running his startup for almost 7 years now. So if you can talk about the challenges that are pretty much unique to maybe startups in India.
Thanks, Arnab, for the question. So we are building a chain into the digital marketplace into the logistics industry. Like Arnab said कि धोबी का business इसी तरीके से, like while I was doing my corporate job and I thought कि अब नौकरी छोड़ के ना अपना business करना है. And when I started discussing it within my family, like I want to build a technology company for trucking industry, then they everyone was into a kind of shock कि एक अच्छी सी आईटी फर्म में नौकरी छोड़ के why you want to be a truck driver. ट्रक ड्राइवरों के लिए क्यों कुछ करना है, ट्रांसपोर्टर्स के लिए क्यों कुछ करना है, बिकॉज everyone sees logistics industry in terms of to the mafias and all goons. And even while we are onto the roads, we always see a truck moving in front of us, always say कि यार ये तो पी के गाड़ी चला रहा होगा और कुछ गलत ही कर रहा होगा. But trucking and logistics industry is itself a kind of indispensable part of our daily life cycle. जो हम कपड़ा पहनते हैं, जो रोज खाते पीते हैं, अगर ट्रक नहीं चलेंगे, एक भी दिन चक्का जाम हो जाएगा तो वो नहीं होगा. So the idea is all about to build business where you find the problem, where people are not ready to solve the problem, or if it is a very challenging problem to solve. Like if we talk about the logistics is indispensable part of any business, whether it's manufacturing, production, trading, whatever it is. Without logistics, nothing can happen. So that is something, if it is interesting, then also challenging as well. And these challenges are, अगर मैं नहीं करूंगा तो कोई ना कोई तो करेगा. And that is the thought that keep me strong. And my father supported me a lot. He said कि ठीक है, करना है करो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, but you need to be identify all the positive and the negatives of this particular thing. So while we started, we were disrupting the whole logistics industry, and at that time we started seeing threats from the industry itself. A lot of people started calling ki why you are bringing transparency into the logistics business. This will definitely create a great impact on our margins, what we are telling to the people, where the truck is moving, what we are doing. You are just saying it openly into the market, why you are doing so. So एक दो बार ना कॉल ऐसे आए जो घर में किसी ने उठा लिए, एंड देन दे सेड कि बस कल से धंधा बंद, कल से जाना ही नहीं है, एंड यू आर नॉट सपोज टू गो एंड build this kind of thing. So डर लगता है, करना होता है, but you need to take this as a challenge and it's into a positive way, where you are building something that no one else able to build. You are doing something and you are changing the life of the people. I remember back in 2017, I was on a in Jaipur, and I just went for a survey over there for how Truck Suvidha is doing. At that time I went to a transporter and I identified कि यार मेरे को एक ट्रक चाहिए. जस्ट एंटर्ड एंड आस्क्ड कि मेरे को एक साउथ के लिए ट्रक चाहिए. Basically in transportation line, if the person is not working onto a particular route, they do not provide you the trucks. So I entered and I identified a different route from him. He was busy with his work. With no introduction, I just asked. He said, ठीक है, अब मैं देता नहीं हूँ, आप चले जाओ. बट आफ्टर टू मोर क्वेश्चंस आई आस्क्ड हिम कि सर बहुत दिन से परेशान हूँ, मुझे ट्रक चाहिए. देन सडनली ही सेड कि यार वो एक कुछ सुविधा करके ऐप है, उससे डाउनलोड करके देख लो, शायद हो जाएगा तुम्हारा कुछ काम. एंड दैट वाज द industry validation that I get from one of the customer who was not using, but he was suggesting my product to use. So that is something that we should build, and that kind of something that brand establishment is something which is required, which people are able to say and suggest to the people.
So, uh, Ishu, you represent an industry which is very, very male dominated, if I'm not wrong. So, what percentage of your team is women?
So this is really interesting, and more than 72% of the team strength is female employees only. And when we started, I started from Yamuna Nagar, which is again an industrial and transportation hub over there. And at that time, we started with 7 people. Out of that, we two founders were male, and rest of the team was female team members only. And I remember whenever they used to call transporters and truck drivers to introduce our product, so most of the people used to say to them, अब लड़कियां चलाएंगी क्या ट्रकिंग इंडस्ट्री, अब लड़कियां ट्रक चलाएंगी क्या. So that was the kind of segment that taboo has been changed into the industry itself.
So, kudos to what you're doing. been doing, because for an industry that is typically male dominated, achieving a 72% women workforce is pretty incredible. Uh, I will not say that I have been able to do this. So, uh, the laundry and dry cleaning industry in India is also a very male dominated industry. And subconsciously, unconsciously, consciously, we have been guilty of, despite calling ourselves a forward looking startup, we have also been guilty of being predominantly a men led organization. In fact, I would say it was done so subconsciously that it was only a year or so back that we realized that my wife, who's also my co-founder, is the only woman in the team. And at that time, we were about 44 people. So one person out of 44 people were women. In the last 1.5 years, we have very consciously worked towards improving our gender mix. And even today, we are only about 15% women. So from less than 2%, we have done a journey, but we are still very far from where we should ideally be. And so, Ekta, you are someone who has worked extensively on inclusion. A couple of questions for you. One is how do you consciously build organizations which are inclusive and diverse in nature? And in fact, I would like you to talk about what does diversity exactly mean. And second, why a diverse and inclusive team is important for the long term success of a startup.
Thank you, Arna. So, firstly, hello to everyone out there. I hope you're not feeling sleepy after the lunch. Are you? Okay, that's a great thing. So, I'll first introduce myself. I'm from an organization called Amazing Workplaces, and Shresi, my co founder, is sitting right there. And what does Amazing Workplaces stand for? It basically stands for organizations that provide their employees with the best of best practices in people management. Yeah. And if I have to define what Amazing Workplaces is, we are an integrated HR platform which is based on a 9 pillar framework of best practices in people management. And we have recently launched a survey, which is the employee satisfaction survey for amazing workplaces, for creating amazing workplaces. And it is meant for organizations that believe or want to create in the future workplaces that can be called amazing workplaces. So that's a little bit about myself. Now, coming to diversity, one good thing I see here is that there's a good mix of female and male students. Yeah, which means that, a good seed is sown. In the future, we'll see more diversity, in the organizations. The other thing I see here, in the panel, and which I saw observed in the last panel, was it was male dominated. Yeah. And here also, I'm the only one representing the female gender. But I'll just break the thought here. And I want you to understand, firstly, what diversity is. Diversity is not just male and female in terms of an organization. Diversity is sexual diversity, the LGBTQ plus name that we talk about. Diversity is by experience, what kind of industry experience you have. Diversity obviously is gender diversity as well. Diversity comes with age. Diversity is in terms of ability and disability. Uh, Everybody is not, privileged enough to be physically that abled. Uh, and a new diversity is socio-economic as well. Uh, it is educational diversity, what kind of educational background you have. And diversity, right now, a new term has been added, which is your choice of work. Whether you want to work in a hybrid model, whether you want to work from home or whether you want to work from office. So that is another diversity which organizations are looking at. So that is, the brief introduction about diversity. So break that myth that diversity is just male and female. Now coming to startups, why startups need to be diverse? I think that was the question. Yeah. So firstly, startups are no different from any other organization. So we can exclude the startup. We can say just talk about workplaces and organizations. Why do we need to be diverse? So the first and foremost, the very important factor is that diversity brings a lot of variety. When if you just remember the various diversities that I spoke about, and you have a diverse forum, a diverse platform in the workplace. Even here, if I say, we are more or less of the same age group, had we had, various age groups here, there would have been a different kind of discussion. If we had, somebody from the military background, somebody from the education background, we would have had a different kind of a discussion over here today. Different ideas come up, different, we do a lot of out of the box thinking if we are diverse in our thought process. So diversity is important. The second reason why diversity is important in workplaces is that we need to put a, example in front of the society. We want to change the society, and workplaces have a very, very strong role in changing the society. The moment we start accepting people from different sexualities, different genders, different socioeconomic backgrounds, we tell the society that, hey, look, we are doing something different, and it is has to seep down to the, core group, to the starting points. Because a lot of people, the whole society looks up to corporates, doesn't it? So we are basically, people who are actually setting an example in the society. So that is why society, sorry, that is why diversity is very, very important. It is also important because, we have to make certain changes in the society. We have to bring about, economic changes in the society. So how does it bring? If the wealth is distributed, among different sections of the society, only then that change will bring about. And corporates and organizations and workplaces are the best places to do it. So those are the important factors that I feel why, or workplaces need to be diverse. Apart from that, how we can do that, I'll just touch upon it a little bit. uh, the ways in which we can do it: first, get back to the drawing board. Like Arnab gave the example that his wife is a co-founder, but it was a late realization, she's the only female. So go back to the drawing board, see where your values exist, see where all, we are talking about an industry where truck drivers are impacted. Go to the drawing board and see where all you can fit diversity in your organization. That is the first starting point. Then once you know it, it becomes a slowly becomes a part of your culture. So gets imbibed in your culture. You you design your best practices in a manner that slowly you become a diverse organization. At the same time, once these things are done, you become very conscious about how and where diversity is going to impact in your organization. You make you actually tell your human resources department that these are the things, this is how we want to create a diverse organization. And going forward, start measuring the impact of diversity in the organization. Because everything makes sense in a business if it actually turns out to be profitable. And long term success of any practice in the organization will happen only when it is actually related to your balance sheet. So see how all diversity has positively and monetarily impacted your organization, so that in the times to come you can make changes accordingly and continue with it as a best practices for times to come. Yeah, that's I rest my case here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ekta, for speaking your heart out on a very sensitive but important topic. Slightly digressing, when we started UClean, we were actually working on creating a segment, an altogether new segment. So when we started UClean in 2017, the only thing that India had in terms of cleaning services were your local dhobis. And when we started UClean, we had to actually take away the market from those local dhobis. So our pitch was that we are talking about transparency. These are your friendly neighborhood laundromats. As a customer, you can see for yourself the entire process in action. You can see the machines, you can see the detergent, which unfortunately is not something you can see when you give the clothes to the local dhobi. And that paid off. In fact, what we did was we got Sohali Khan and Kunal Khemu as our first investors, and we did a little trick. So we started projecting UClean as a brand whose founder was Sohali Khan, and I became the co-founder, and that's how we started marketing and promoting. And when Sohali Khan openly started talking on Facebook and Twitter that she gets her clothes washed in UClean, why can't you? So that actually helped us gain a lot of initial traction, because not only was she a Bollywood actress, she was also from the royal family, and people started thinking that agar Soha kapde de sakti hai UClean mein, to hum kyun nahi? And that helped us gain the initial traction. Then suddenly, seeing UClean success, we had a lot of competition spawn up, because ultimately whatever we are doing is not rocket science. आप भी एक setup लगा सकते हो, आप भी laundry कर सकते हो. So that spurred a lot of competition, and then we started talking about technology. That I come from IIT, and that's why we are technologically superior, and that also started helping us. So the point is that at different times of during your startup journey, you will face different kind of competition, and you need to keep adapting yourself. You need to keep coming up with the strategy. And on that note, I'll like to ask Mayank, who is like the youngest entrepreneur amongst us all. uh, your journey is relatively new, but obviously what you have created, you already have had competition. So how do you manage this competition, and how does your strategy keep changing with time?
Okay, thank you, Arnav. And all the students here sitting, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि सारे लोग स्टार्टअप बनाना चाहते हैं और कितने लोग स्टार्टअप बनाना चाहते हैं एक बार हैंड रेस करके दिखाएं अच्छा कुछ लोग हैं राइट सो थोड़ा सा मैं पीछे ले जाऊंगा एक बार जो अर्नव सर ने बोला कि ही इज फ्रॉम बिहार एंड आई आल्सो फ्रॉम बिहार एंड द सेम थॉट ऑफ पेरेंट्स लाइक यूपीएससी सरकारी नौकरी सो एनीवेज आई क्रैक सम इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज वहाँ पे मैंने इंजीनियरिंग करी और एक थॉट होता है बिहार के अंदर में थोड़ा सा एक प्रॉब्लम है कि यू नीड टू अर्न मनी इफ यू आर इंजीनियर एंड आई गॉट प्लेस्ड where I got a salary of 10K only, the initial salary. और ये फेस करेंगे सारे स्टूडेंट तो इतना घबराने की जरूरत नहीं है बहुत जल्दी चीजें हो जाती हैं सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई विल एड्रेस द क्वेश्चन ऑफ अर्नव हाउ वी डील विद कंपटीशन सी we need to decide what are our USPs. We need to focus on USP. हमारे अंदर क्या USP है हमारे प्रोडक्ट के अंदर क्या USP है वो बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है like I have a company called Distributors Channel, that is Bharat Ka Distributor, is an aggregator model which generate business opportunity for manufacturers and the wholesalers. But again, we have number of competitors like India Mart and other B2B portals. So we need to be very specific, we need to be very deep down, and we need to focus on niche only, right? Just focus on single problem and solve that particular problem. If you are solving that particular problem with perfection, so that will be your USP and you can deal with the competition. That's all.
Thank you, Mayank. Very crisp. Uh, when you're giving a job interview, and I think I heard the HR panel before us talk about questions like, where do you see yourself 1 year down the line? Where do you see yourself 5 years down the line? Would you be with this organization, or would you be somewhere else? So as a startup entrepreneur, that is also something that we constantly encounter. uh, People, and these people could be investors, they could be our customers, vendors, or other stakeholders in the system. who would keep probing you around short-term goals and long-term goals that you have. And honestly, for a bigger organization, talking about short-term goals, mid-term goals, long-term goals, and properly defining them on an Excel sheet or a Word document is easy. But when you're talking about startups, आपको यही नहीं पता होता है कि आप अगले 6 महीने में सर्वाइव करने वाले भी हो या नहीं हो. So talking about short-term goals, your short-term could be for another startup, it could even be a long-term. So my question to Pushkar, who is a champion at hedge funds, is as a startup entrepreneur, how do you create a balance between short-term goals and long-term goals? How do you evaluate whether you're meeting them or not? And in case you feel that you're faltering, how do you generally course correct?
Hello. So first of all, I like to thank the platform provided by the great institution, and thanks for all the participants for being with us, and every one of you, including Mr. Himanshu Pandey from your organization, and also like to thank all the speakers who are on the dais, including our moderator, Mr. Anuruddh. One thing I wanted to tell to all of you, my dear friends, is that first of all, hello everyone. जो लोग पीछे बैठे हैं हाथ उठाओ सब, because what I'm seeing is, friends, all of you, including that side, excuse me, on the left side, ये मोबाइल फोन चलाने चलाने का टाइम नहीं है. Your organization is spending so much of passion, so much of energy, money, and you all are spending your most important thing is time. You all are being given live experiences by all these founders and co-founders. Most of them have survived, so you can call them as a successful entrepreneurs. So I'll request all of you to please pay attention for what I am trying to tell in next 2 minutes. It's the story between failure and success, and it's also a question asked by our moderator about how you are going to be categorizing between long-term and short-term goals. Again, on that side, I can see there is some distraction. If you will be distracted, then unfortunately, this will be a wastage of your important day. 2 minutes only I will speak. I don't know much about anything. I'm into stock market, my dear friends. I keep on doing what you know is known as in the most difficult thing in stock market is handling the portfolios and doing live trading. Indian stock markets is underperforming. We are in near global recession. Mark my words, all of you will have to face really tough time. This is not a warning, this is a reality. All of the co-founders are struggling. Reason is not because of money. Reason is due to the global scenarios. You all are reading in MBA. Most of you are knowing what is going on. So I don't need to emphasize on that. Inflation is at lifetime high. Everything, whether you talk about flight tickets, bus tickets, anything, milk, sugar, honey, butter, anything, it is at lifetime high. India's average population is at 28 years. How many of you are above 28? Can you raise your hands? I'm asking participants. Most of you are below 28. My dear friends, we are already in the top 5 countries of the world. What is most important right now is you need to build your own path and strategies. Startup is all about failures. So if you are not ready to fail in the beginning, you can't foray in this shoes of startup. Second thing, who runs startup? Many of you will be thinking it is investors. No, investors only give you money. It is people like who are sitting on the dice. They are working hard. You can see all of the eyes of moderators. Everyone has got a dream. Everyone has got a passion. So if you do not have a dream, if you do not have passion, if you are casual in life, mark my words, my dear friends, you really have to have a very, very, very tough time. You can call it as a warning and you can call it as a motivation, because India officially have 141 crore people on date. We have surpassed China. Things will be going worst. Mark my words, worst. So how you are knowing artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, everything is coming and everything is treated you like a competition. So how you are going to be surviving is simply by learning the skills. I'm not going to talk here about share market. Share market Share market is the world's most difficult business. Only 1% people make money. This data is known to all of you. Still, making money is an art. I will talk to on that on some other session. You can follow. I don't want to market myself. Still, we have started an online academy for educating people on the stock market. You can follow us on YouTube. The platform name is Bourse Academy. Bourse Academy. So what I'm trying to tell you is very simple, very simple. After leaving Radisson Blue today, if you go home, ask a question. What are you doing in your life? Are you happy with it? Are you going to take some risk? Are you going to have some vision? Vision is a very difficult thing. Because if your only vision is to get a job, mark my words, you will have really tough time. Your educational institute is a great institution that they are trying to provide you a good information based session. Many of the people are not lucky, so you should learn. What I'm trying to say, you should learn and think something different. Because again, hand raised by participant I can feel is only 10%. India need more startup. It doesn't matter whether you fail, it doesn't matter whether you pass. Every month 5 lakh new companies are incorporated in India. 5 lakh. And you know the data, after 5 years only 10% companies survive. Only 10%. Means 50,000 companies survives means they are in the state of having one word which is known as profit after tax. You must be reading accountancy. I think all of you have studied. So profit after tax is what is needed by investors, what is needed by founders and co-founders. You can see clearly all the big startups of India, including Paytm, Zomato, Nykaa, all are being listed in the stock market. What is their condition of stock? I'm not going to talk about it. You must be knowing that. So their honeymoon days are over. So imagine when you are going to start and start up, how much is the tough situation for all of you. And the biggest concern for the world is not now the recession or the risk. The biggest concern is, you know what? Lack of innovation. What is hampering all of us is lack of innovation. Why can't we start a company like Google? Why can't we start a company like Tesla? Why? Is there any reason? We can do it. India can do it. Burning money on investors' money is not going to be long lasting. Scratch coupons, cashbacks, those business are now outdated. Even if you do a recharge on phone pay, they ask 1 rupees or 2 rupees. Previously they were giving you 5 rupees to do a recharge. I can remember 2 years ago. Now you have to pay money. It means the business model is shifting. The question which was asked by me is short term and long term goals. Definitely there should be some short term goal. The short term goal should be focused on the survival. My dear friends, if you have to survive, start working on your own and hire people smarter than you. If you have to run a good organization, I was listening to Mr. Jeff Bezos. Fortunately, I was in Singapore and he came to an event, and he had given an interview to Bloomberg that how I was successful is because he says I'm not a smart person, but I hire more person who are smarter than me. So if you have to start a good startup, hire smart people, think innovative, and also learn to build teams. I know these are not easy things. These are not an easy thing, but learn that art. Learn the basic concept of balance sheet. Not only bookish, balance sheet. How to survive in the coming tough times. Again, long term and short term goals both should be only and only is to explore from the basic and keep scratching, keep hustling. Because if you will not hustle as a promoter or a chairman or a director or a CEO or as anything or a founder or co-founder, your company will die. So innovation, hustle, passion, and determination. These are the 4 terms: innovation, hustle, passion, and determination. If you do not have this, better try to inject this thing into your mind, body, and soul before you start any company. Thank you so much.
Some very heartfelt hard hitting but very valid advice from Pushkar. So, given that there's a paucity of time, we would like to open the floor to any questions. You can raise your hand and you can choose who you want to answer that question.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Priya Sharma, and my question is how can a company ensure that it is collecting the right data and how can it use the data to make informed business decisions?
Uh, thanks for asking the question. I play with data a lot. So collecting the right data in terms of a startup, it's all about marketing and doing a lot of business and bringing new customers to us. There is nothing like right or wrong data that you are collecting. The thing is like how you are processing the data. Even you can process the wrong data in a way that you are able to make money out of it. That is something which is really important for a startup. For example, let's say data is everywhere. Even if let's say if you want to run a startup, for example, let's take example of Uclean itself. So while running a new franchise or building a new franchise, Uclean might want to have new customers. So for example, they opened a franchise in Vaishali itself. Now they want to go to the new customers. They want data of all those customers. Either they will advertise, or if they have their phone numbers or email IDs, they will build the audience so that they will start giving their clothes. All the data is readily available onto the Google. Someone can go identify the data and start marketing over there. It's all about how you are processing the data. That is something which is really important. Collecting right or wrong, it doesn't matter.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, so to add to his advice, and since he brought up the case of Uclean, so for example, I'll give you a very simple real-time analogy that happens. So when we get customers in and they start using our services, we do detailing to the level that we even try to understand what kind of garments would they prefer, what kind of the color choice that they have to. So just to illustrate this, for example, our intelligence tells us that women in Kolkata or women in West Bengal in particular, they love to wear cloths with polka dots. And this is the level of detailing. So what thereafter happens is that we start creating marketing campaigns where we specifically talk in Bengal. So it will be a Bengali ad that will appeal to the women in Bengal, talking about the fact that Euclid is an expert at taking care of saris that have polka dots, because there's a very good probability that a polka dot sari would color bleed. So we talk about how we are an expert at managing color bleeds, how we are an expert when it comes to polka dot saris, and your saris won't get spoiled. So whenever we are capturing the information, we do our best to detail it as much as possible, so that it can be used in future to target the right set of audience. And in our case, the audience is not just the customers who are using it, but also a company like H&M. So we work very closely with companies like H&M and Zara, where we tell them that this is what Indian women love, this is what Indian men love, and we get paid for it.
Do we have any other question? Okay, Astha and Yash.
Good evening, everyone. My question is, how can Indian startup compete with established global players, and what strategies can they use to differentiate themselves in crowded market?
Uh, Probably, I'm in a position to answer these questions because, as I mentioned, we are an accidental recruitment firm. And when we started, a lot of people came to me that I'm actually doing the worst mistake of my life because there are 1 lakh recruitment firms in India, and we cannot compete with them. Plus, there are Michael Pages or Econ Center of the world. How will you compete with them? So probably I'm in a position to answer this. Uh, Two things what we do in our company. uh, a total different opinion what Pushkar mentioned. We don't make any goals in our company. The only competition we have is our previous day, and we don't feel there is any competition around us because we improve our services by every passing day. And so far, we have been able to give the global recruitment players a very tough time in India. How we did actually on grounds. Uh, Many new startups they prefer to do a lot of sales, lot of marketing, but we have realized in our company delivery is the new sales. Once you have a happy customer, word of mouth publicity actually takes over all the marketing. With due respect to what Ekta does, but word of mouth marketing, I'm sure you will also agree that that also has a wonderful uh, uh, that can do wonders. So instead of focusing on sales, if you start focusing on customer delight, probably you will be able to give a tough competition to the global players.
To add to this, like startups exist because corporates are not able to solve the problem what we are doing. That is something that is a great thing to do. Like any of the startup which is building or you want to build or we have built so far, it was a problem which corporates were not solving. So we are not in competition with the corporates. In the long run, yes, once we build a global business or we are doing a lot of business, at that time, yes, we need to start face the competition from the corporates because they start their own wing which is trying to give competition to us. आपका innovation, आपका process कोई आपसे नहीं छीन सकता because you have built so far. हो सकता है कि आप उसे कोई copy करना चाहे, but वो copy उतना ही कर सकता है जितना उसने देखा है, but आप उसके जन्मदाता हो, तो obviously आपको पता है ना कि कैसे कहाँ लेके जाना है.
All right. That's it. Arnav, any concluding remarks?
So, as while you're building a startup, and I saw that a very small percentage of people actually raise their hands when somebody asks them if they want to become an entrepreneur. And I'm actually happy to see that because what I have seen is that in the recent past, a lot of people they tend to start up because they can write on LinkedIn that they're a startup founder, or that they can write on Facebook that they're a startup founder, without actually intending to be there in the long run. So, from just one final piece of advice or suggestion is that there's absolutely no comparison between being it's not apples to apples comparison being an employee or being an employer. A lot of YouTube influencers today talk about job naukri na kare naukri de, but that's all bullshit, to be honest. At the end of the day, you should do what makes sense to you. If you want to work, you want to work a few years and then start up, or you never want to start up, that's also fair. But remember, when you're starting up, you need to be in it for the long haul. You need to go all in. So you need to figure out how you will manage your finances, how will you manage your home, how will you manage your relationship. All that is very, very important. And give it your best. Don't back out till you have the last fuel of energy left.
All right. Thank you very much.
सो अभी जो नंबर्स कम थे कि स्टार्टअप में जो हाथ खड़े कम हुए थे, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि कई लोग को ये नहीं पता कि मैं आइडिया कहाँ से ढूंढूं. मैं कई लोग से बात करता हूँ तो सर आइडिया कहाँ से लेकर आए. सो एक मैं वर्ड देता हूँ आप लोगों को, कैप्चर द इनकन्वीनियंस. जहां भी इनकन्वीनियंस है यू कैन मेक अ स्टार्टअप. राइट. आई वाज वर्किंग विद इंडिया मार्ट एंड आई वाज फाइंडिंग कि कितने लोग ये पूछते हैं कि सर मेरे को डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स चाहिए, but they are giving inquiries of wholesalers, retailers. So I capture the inconvenience कि डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर का कोई प्लेटफॉर्म नहीं है, एंड आई मेड दैट प्लेटफॉर्म. मैं एक फनी एग्जांपल देना चाहता हूँ आप लोगों को कि एक टाइम पे अगर आप थोड़ा सा पीछे जाएं, सो स्पाइसेस रॉ आती थी, जिसे हम खड़े मसाले बोलते हैं. someone has find that inconvenience कि कौन पीसेगा इसको ले जाके, and they bring packaged spices. उसी के साथ साथ आज दाल मखनी का मसाला भी आ गया है और पनीर का भी मसाला आ गया है, तो डायरेक्टली जितना ज़्यादा इनकन्वीनियंस आ रहा है उतना ज़्यादा आप स्टार्टअप बना सकते हैं. सो यू जस्ट लुक फॉर द इनकन्वीनियंस. पीपल आर लुकिंग फॉर एक्सपीरियंस. यू कैन आई मीन मेड अ स्टार्टअप to give experience to a customer. So idea is there. बस determination जैसा कि सर ने ऐड किया, determination is very important and focus is very important. हारना नहीं है, हारते हम कभी स्टार्ट वाले नहीं हैं, बट डूइंग अ जॉब इज नॉट बैड थिंग. सी हमारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में हम लोग एक चीज मेंशन करते हैं कि इफ यू आर नॉट अ एंटरप्रेन्योर यू कैन बी अ इंट्राप्रेन्योर व्हिच इज वर्किंग एज अ एंटरप्रेन्योर इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. सो दैट्स ऑल. थैंक यू.
Thank you so much. It has been a session full of mindful deliberations where Mr. Arunab, the moderator, added the flavor of the laundry industry in India. Mr. Ishu gave us an overview of the trucking industry, and Ekta about the integrated HR platform. Mr. Varun has taken us from his amazing journey, being a competition to self and getting better each passing day. And Mayank, being the youngest entrepreneur of all, giving us the USP formula. And Mr. Pushkar gave us the heads up on the global recession for our students. Thank you so much. I now request Dr. Devendra Narang for the felicitation ceremony. First of all, Mr. Varun Dhingra, thank you for being with us for the day. Mr. Pushkar Anand, Mr. Arunab Sinha, Ms. Ekta Kapoor, Mr. Ishu Bansal, and Mr. Mayank Tiwari. On behalf of Jaipuri Institute of Management, I thank you all for being with us for the day. We can get it back and we can have a group picture.